You ever have one of those days where you just think, man, my life is tough? Well, whatever you're thinking, just hold that thought. Because today, we're diving into some of the most bizarre, the most tragic, and honestly the most downright depressing lives in the entire animal kingdom. Let's get right into it. So, what makes a life depressing anyway? For us humans, it's things like unfulfilled dreams, maybe loneliness, or a soul-crushing job. We've got the luxury, I guess, of pondering our own existence. But what happens when you strip all that complicated thought away? When survival is literally the only game in town? Right. In the animal kingdom, the rules are just brutally different. Evolution can be so absurdly cruel, or mind-numbingly boring, or just plain weird. And our first contender? Oh boy, it's a true masterpiece of all three. Okay, first up, the absurd sunfish. Meet the ocean sunfish, or Mola if you want to get fancy. I mean, look at this thing. It looks like a creature that was designed by a committee that absolutely hated each other. It's basically a giant swimming head with some fins slapped on. And trust me, its life is every bit as bizarre as it looks. Get ready for this number. 300 million. That's how many eggs a single female sunfish can lay. And then she just leaves. That's it. The vast majority of those eggs just get eaten or drift away into nothing. So for a sunfish, just being born is like winning the cosmic lottery. And the lucky few that do survive? Well, they hatch as these tiny, spiky little balls and immediately start a lifelong all-you-can-eat buffet of jellyfish. Yeah, not exactly a power food. But somehow, this diet fuels one of the most incredible growth spurts in nature. We're talking about packing on 2 pounds every single day until they turn into these 2,000-pound giants. So what does all that growing get them? 100 years of absolute misery. That's what. They're so slow, like 2 miles per hour slow, they can't even shake off parasites. They end up hosting up to 40 different species at once. They're so bony that fishermen don't even want them. They just toss them back. And get this, they are so durable that a shark can take a huge bite out of one and it'll just keep on drifting. 100 years of that. Can you even imagine? All right, so the sunfish has this long life of just slow motion struggle. But what about a life that's almost entirely spent waiting, just waiting for one single moment? For that story, let's turn to the cicada. Okay, this timeline is it's mind-boggling. I want you to really imagine this. You hatch, you fall to the ground, and you spend the next 17 years in total darkness. Just latched to a root, sucking sap. That's your whole life. And then, for one glorious, chaotic month, you burst into the light for this frantic, screaming party just to mate before you die. 17 years for 1 month.
But here's the kicker. Timing is everything. If a cicada gets its 17-year calendar wrong by just 1 year, either too early or too late, it becomes what they call a straggler. It digs its way out and emerges to a world of total silence. No mates, no party, nothing. That entire 17-year wait in the dark, completely wasted. All for nothing.
Okay, so we've gone from a life of waiting for one big moment to a life of endless, identical moments. Meet the Turritopsis dohrnii, the so-called immortal jellyfish. And yeah, you heard that right, immortal. But let me tell you, it's not the superpower you think it is. It might actually be a curse.
So, here's where the curse comes in. It's all in its life cycle. It lives, it matures, but when it gets old or stressed out, it doesn't die. No, it just hits the reset button. It reverts all the way back to its juvenile polyp form and starts the entire process over. Again and again and again. An endless, brainless loop.
And what is that existence, exactly? Well, for starters, it's 95% water. It has no brain to think with, no eyes to see with, no heart to feel with. It just drifts. It eats and it poops from the same opening. It has no friends, no family, and yeah, it will happily eat other jellyfish. It's just a truly monotonous existence, repeated forever.
All right, let's bring this a little closer to home. Let's talk about an animal we all think we know. An animal we think is cute, furry, cuddly, the rabbit, right? Well, the reality of a rabbit's life is very different. It's a picture of pure, nonstop terror. I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it?
A rabbit's entire existence is fundamentally built on fear. From the very second they're born, hairless, blind, and deaf, they are afraid. And honestly, they have every reason to be. If their own mother gets too stressed out, she might just eat them.
And the threats are they're everywhere. On land, in the sky, even in the water. Basically, if it has teeth or talons, it probably sees a rabbit as an easy snack. So they spend their whole lives, which, by the way, is usually only about 2 years in the wild, constantly, and I mean constantly, just moments away from being eaten.
Think about this. Their bodies are in a constant state of high alert. A rabbit's resting heart rate is already at 200 beats per minute. That's like a human's heart rate during intense exercise. And a single leaf blowing past, that can spike it to over 300. It is, quite literally, a life lived perpetually on the brink of a panic attack.
Okay, for our final animal, we're going deep, to the darkest, coldest depths of the ocean. We're going to meet a creature whose life is defined by a scale of time and loneliness that it's almost impossible for our brains to even comprehend. Meet the Greenland shark. Take a look at that year, around 1620. That's the estimated birth year of one of the oldest Greenland sharks ever found. Just let that sink in for a second. This shark was already swimming around before the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, before Isaac Newton even figured out gravity. It has been swimming alone in the dark for over 4 centuries. So how has it spent those 400 years? In ultra-slow motion. I'm not kidding. You can walk more than 4 times faster than this shark's top speed. Imagine that, a 400-year life spent just hovering in the freezing, absolute blackness of the deep ocean.
And if that wasn't grim enough for you, to top it all off, most Greenland sharks are blind. There's this parasite that attaches to their corneas and just eats them. But here's the really twisted part. That parasite, it glows. It actually acts as a little lure to attract prey in the total darkness. So, as one scientist put it, imagine having to trade your eyesight for a Christmas light. What a deal.
So all of this brings us right back to where we started. From the sunfish to the shark, these lives, they seem unimaginably bleak, right? At least from our human point of view. But here's the real question. Without a brain like ours to process it all, is it actually suffering, or is it just life? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Maybe our ability to even think about happiness is the very thing that opens the door to sadness, something to chew on.